Well, we got a football Friday. Lots to talk about. Bucs at Buffalo Sunday, 1 p.m. Forecast is for rain, about 75% chance, somewhere between 35 and probably 45 degrees, which I was talking to some of the offensive linemen, man, they love that weather. They just, the big guys can't stand the heat. I don't blame them, man. They love it. It's going to be a grimy day, where you're going to run the football. I mean, you got James Cook. The Buffalo wants to run it with him. The Bucs may have Bucky Irving. As we're taping this podcast, we don't know.
Still, like going into this week, you're like, no shot at Bucky this week.
I know.
Bowles on Monday talking about it's the shoulder and more the shoulder than the, and now all of a sudden he's practicing and could very well play this week.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the calculus is on that because you're not going to hit the guy on the shoulder, right? So, how do you measure that enough time has passed where it's stable? I mean, it's obviously not popped out since he did it, and no one's going to try to make it do so. So, other than pain tolerance, how do you test something like that? All I know is that it sounded like, in talking to Josh Grizzard, that they're repping him in plays. And I don't know that you necessarily do that and take reps away from other running backs that are actually going to play in the game if you've made the decision. So
if he's out, no. If it's still a questionable decision, you would, because if you're going to play him, you need him to get some reps.
Sure. And I think they're giving him reps, and that's what makes me tend to think. And really, if it's been like the other players, and I know they're offensive linemen, but we saw Luke Gedeke come back and immediately play. We saw, I think Tristan Wirfs may have had a ramp up for a week, but he was coming off knee surgery, maybe 2, but not much. So I don't know how to measure Bucky other than when he hurt it, they said that it would probably be about 4 weeks that the ankle and the shoulder were on the same timetable. Well, it's been 6 going on 7 now. And, his shoulder should be, based on their previous timetable, about as healed as it's going to be. All I know is that you don't know which game. You want to try to win every game, and there's probably people smarter than me that would say, well, hey, maybe you sit him, get another week or 2, and then when you hit that stretch run, you got him. But there's no guarantee that whenever he comes back, it's going to hold up. So if he's ready to play, if the wheels are good, maybe you put him in there. So I tend to think just the body language, right? The helmet, the shoulder pads, the way even though he's listed as limited, I tend to think that we're going to get to, I'm sure as we tape this podcast Thursday night, by Friday, they're going to say he's questionable. They're going to say he was limited all week. Maybe he's full on Friday, which would be an indication that he's trending towards playing. But it'll probably be one of those where we're going to, game day decision type deals. And those have usually gone in the way of the player. The player is usually played, if he gets through Friday without any setbacks, then they generally play the guy. So, it would certainly change the game. I mean, there's no question that he's if he's well and understand there's going to be rust and he's not going to be maybe seeing things the way he would, coming out of training camp or something, but dynamic player, they got to commit resources to stopping him. He can get some stuff done in the passing games. He'll create some lanes and some coverage matchup advantages for the wide receivers. And we haven't even talked really about Chris Godwin. I mean, Chris Godwin's out there running too. I don't have a sense that he's going to play. Like, it doesn't seem like he's as far along towards maybe getting back in the lineup as even Bucky is. But that's not to say that it isn't possible. So if you got them both back, then now you're really cooking with gas. So, but I tend to think this is going to be one of those, sort of grinded out games. Try to limit Josh Allen's, possessions. Play field position. All that stuff. Kind of an ugly day, ugly game, maybe situation. And their defense is going to have to hold up. It's going to have to hold up on the run. Because James Cook is going to run the football, and he's really good at it. And, they've got some weapons outside that they're going to have to deal with, and those defensive backs are going to have to deal with Allen. running and throwing. So Buffalo is very motivated. They're falling further and further behind the Patriots, who are, as we're doing this, beating the Jets on their way to like 9-2, most likely, barring a comeback. And Buffalo have to fight for a wild card that they're not currently in, or if they are, I think it's the last seed in the AFC. So I'm looking forward to this game because I think you have two teams that are good, not great. Two teams that definitely had aspirations of going deep into the playoffs. Both of them thought they would win their division. I still think it's there for the Bucs. I'm not sure it's there. Probably not there anymore for for Buffalo. But the expectations are enormous. That Josh Allen would get them back in the playoffs. So I don't know. It's intriguing matchup, and defensively is where they're going to have to kind of maybe again pick up the slack for what's happening on offense, for the lack of the guard play has not been good. Ben Bredesen doesn't look like he will play at all, so you're going to have two young guards, and the rest of the offensive line should be intact, including Luke Gedeke, who I had a chance to talk to. And he told me that the injury he had, and I didn't know this until he told us, was he tore his plantar fascia, which I haven't done it. I'm told it's that, if you can imagine what's like kind of that on the bottom of your foot, tearing away. Sometimes it's better if it tears completely away to heal. But that was the injury, and had a contusion down there, he said, as well. So it took him, 6, almost 7 weeks to come back from that. And he's, as they call him, the enforcer. And it wasn't an accident, I think, last week that the run game suddenly got better. The run game suddenly, against a team that was, one of the top rush defenses in the league, hadn't given up a 50-yard rusher. Well, they certainly did, to Sean Tucker in that game. And I think Luke has a lot to do with that. I mean, Luke just has a certain snarl about him, and can really, clean up the piles and keep people off Baker, and just, he's just kind of an ornery guy to play against, and hard to play against. And they miss that. I think they need that on that offensive line. Certainly better than Charlie Heck. Nothing against Charlie, but he's not really a starter in this league. And so now you had not having to commit as many resources to help him out. So I expect Luke to be better this week than he was even last week, but he made it through the game fine. You see, he didn't feel, obviously not in game shape, but didn't feel any ill effects of playing, which is good. So should be an interesting game. Bucs are not favored. They're not going to be favored. I think the line has come down a little bit with some of these guys getting back, maybe Bucky and others. But they need this one. They've managed to not lose 2 in a row. And I think good teams, Steve, they don't get on losing streaks. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's, you want, unlike the Bucs the last few years, who start hot, get a big swoon in the middle, and then, turn it on at the end. You'd rather just have that consistency over the year.
Sure.
Win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose. Like, you don't want those 2-3 game losing streaks,
right?
Because that's where it just, it starts to feel that pressure.
Yeah, you let everybody back in a race, and it's just, for as bad as Atlanta has played, Carolina losing last week at New Orleans, you lose this game, suddenly everybody's no worse than one game behind you, and you've got to play all those teams, and so they're going to be right back in it if they can find some wins themselves.
I mean, luckily you have a 1.5 lead now because Carolina lost at home to the Saints.
That was huge. Yeah, that was huge.
I mean, that was a gift.
Mm-hmm. Total gift. And Atlanta lost overseas again.
Yeah, they lost to the Colts, though. So, I mean,
they lost to a good team, but they did lose.
Yeah.
So, but again, if either of those teams are within a game, or in this case 2, like Carolina's, if Carolina's within 2 games, they play you twice in 3 weeks. So the race is not over. It's far from over. You're going to have to try to get back on the winning side. And this is what they've done every year. Now, the schedule is a big part of it. Injuries more so this year than ever before. But when you've gone in the middle of each season since Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield have been together, it's been, start 3-1 both years, then lose 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7. Well, they've lost 2 out of 3. If they were to lose the next 2, you're right back where you've been, losing 4 out of 5. And then now battling your butt off down the stretch. The good news is they got winnable games down the stretch, but you can't count on anything in the NFL. It truly is a week-to-week league because you don't even know what players are going to be available to play for you. So, you know, this could be, even though it's not an NFC, like if you had to pick, you'd rather they beat the Rams than they beat the Bills just because of the playoff implications. But you'll take a win anywhere you can, and to your point, like don't go on one of these losing streaks. So stop it right here, win one, lose one. You're okay if you do that because you're going to wind up winning 12 games or so. And I still think they will, barring injuries to Baker or something like that. You know, we'll have to see. But yeah, it's Buffalo's a great place to go watch a game. It's a great atmosphere, very much like Lambeau in some respects. Good fans, nutty fans, passionate, and feeling a little bit of pressure because of what New England has done. Look, New England, it's impressive. I know they play in a weak AFC East, and people would say that about the NFC South, and they do. But man, to put up 9 out of 11, 9 wins, to be 9-2. Should they hold on and beat the Jets with Mike Vrabel? And how did Mike Vrabel not get a job last year? That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
That's a good question. And why did Tennessee let him go?
Well, that's a better question, right? Because he got to the playoffs. In fact, he got deep in the playoffs once or twice, I think. I don't know. It's weird. It's like sometimes they made the switch of general managers. That didn't seem to go very well, and I think there was some schism there. Mike's a big personality. I mean, Mike is a guy that played, obviously, and he's he's an intimidating figure, to say the least. Culture guy, absolutely. But he did some good things with Tennessee, and I just think that sometimes bad organizations make bad decisions. Cleveland fired Bill Belichick, and he wasn't winning there. In fact, you could argue that he hasn't won without Tom Brady. But yeah, that's not winning. And just the fact that how did 31 other teams decide that they didn't want Braves last year? You know what I mean? Like that's even more crazy. I guess there's been news out this week in particular, and this has come from the Jets, that the Jets were willing to offer a lot more for Vrabel than what he wound up taking from the Patriots. Like it was kind of like one of those, since they're playing the Jets, it's one of those things where you go, yeah, well, we really wanted him too. We did everything we could to get him. Don't blame us. It's like you got to play this guy now for the next 10 years. But that was the reports before this Thursday night game that the Jets made a really big play for Vrabel, and they just they threw him a better offer.
I would have chose Robert Kraft in New England over Woody Johnson in New York any day.
You think?
I don't care how much money the difference was. Like,
right? Yeah.
Did you see Woody Johnson apparently put a proposal to ban the owners' grades that the players do?
I mean, okay, think about this. So the NFLPA does a report card now, for all 32 teams, and not everybody participates, but those who want to can. And at the end, they come up with they grade things like facilities and travel and meals and just daycare, anything you can think of that the organization provides. And I can tell you, in the case of the Glazers, who haven't always gotten great grades, particularly in some of the family stuff, and this past year because of locker rooms and different things, they've taken it to heart and made changes in their facility when they've gotten that feedback back. I simply don't know. Yes, and of course, no surprise, it's the Jets that want to ban it necessarily, but like, you should want to know what your players think of your ownership and what it is that you're not doing well enough. Maybe they shouldn't publish them. I don't know about that, but
well, yeah, I mean, I could understand why you get upset at publishing, but yeah, you should want feedback. I mean, companies,
right?
Some companies will ask for feedback in that.
Ours does every year. I get a survey.
Yeah. I'm always curious which companies are sincere in wanting the feedback and which are just doing it to placate people.
It could be PR, right? Like you just, hey, we really do care what you think.
We're listening. We're listening.
Exactly. But are you responsive? That's the key. But but yeah, it's a bad look for the NFL, right? It's a bad look for teams to say, we don't want these report cards. These are unfair. They're not true. Fake news, right? Fake news. It's just, I don't know, man. Billions of dollars at stake.
You're a billionaire. Like, really?
Right.
You're gonna get that upset? I mean, if you don't like it, fix it.
I know.
Like the Glazers. Like, okay, we're
Yeah, they
behind
weren't
on this,
happy
we're
that
not
they
doing
got
this.
grades,
Yeah.
but you know what? They were responsive, right? Would you rather know than find out, that we can't attract free agents because of this or that?
Right. Which is why a Mike Evans decides to stay here, and a Chris
That's right.
Godwin decides to stay here,
Yeah.
and Baker Mayfield decides to stay here. And
Now the biggest thing is, let's be honest, the biggest thing is their salaries, right?
sure,
Like,
absolutely.
you can put up with a lot of things if you're getting paid, but culture being what it is, I mean, it's a big deal. And ownership, I think it always starts there. So if you're not responsive, to your team, to your players and what they feel they need, then you're not going to be a good organization, and you're not going to attract free agents because these guys all talk. They all have some of them the same agents. Like, they know the difference between the New York Jets and, the LA Rams or whatever.
Well, and so many players have played multiple places too. So
Yes.
it really start,
Yes.
back in the day when, everyone stayed on one team for their whole career.
Yeah.
Nobody switched teams, but now people are switching teams all the time, whether by your choice or the team's cutting you and you have to go somewhere else.
Can you imagine if they had these surveys when the Bucs were in the woodshed?
Oh.
The comments would have been, "Hey, man, in a box." The comments would have been, cat-sized rat crawling across the roof. Have to eat at locker because there is no dining facility. Jose's catering is not healthy. A little too much grease. I mean, I don't know what they would have come up with, but it would have been interesting. Runway 36 right, a little loud. Indoor facility is a parking garage. Like, it would have been really interesting, man. Really interesting. And yet, even though the Glazers are responsive, they still, there's still a lot of comments that probably stung them a little bit, but they addressed them. So,
well, even thinking back, like I remember Phil Esposito saying when they founded the Lightning, like they were flying commercials still. This is the early 90s.
Is that right? I didn't realize that.
They were, I think, the last team in the NHL to charter.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I assume they just chartered from the start. Wow.
No, and it was financial.
Yeah, sure. They were at the fairgrounds then.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like it hasn't been that long since every team chartered everywhere. I mean, some did earlier than others, but
right.
Heck, like the WNBA are just now starting to charter and stuff.
That's true. That's brought to you by maybe Caitlin Clark.
I thought it was Angel Reese that brought that.
Well, I think maybe the both of them did. Let's put it that way. Yeah, that's interesting. But these things matter. They matter, and it's a $1 billion league, and some of the fixes are not billions of dollars, but that's what you have at stake. But the owners can be pretty thin-skinned, and now you've just drawn attention to something that maybe people weren't paying as much attention to, but the fact that
now, if you're the Jets players and you're, one in whatever this year, or maybe
right.
The 1 or 2 wins, whatever they've got,
right?
Do you just make the ratings even worse for Woody Johnson because he just said that, didn't want it out?
Probably. If I get a survey, I'm gonna kill him whether he deserves it or not. Trying to take my survey away, man. What am I supposed to do? It's just hard. There's enough real major things to fight with the union besides this. Let them have their little surveys. Let them do what they're going to do. But, just improve your product, improve your organization. And some of these fixes, like they're not asking, like very few teams, when you read these surveys, ask for something that's like so cost prohibitive that they would never consider it. The Jets are 2-7, by the way. So they're not unreasonable things, but there are some anecdotal stuff that's interesting from time to time, and good for the Glazers. I think the culture of the Buccaneers is about as good as it's ever been since I've been covering the team. I think guys are genuinely, happy in that organization. I think they feel like they have what they need to win. From an indoor facility to whether it's the weight room, the training staff, the lunchroom, like all those things. And they do have some complaints from time to time. One of them at one point was, lack of daycare during the games for their kids to have, supervision or whatever. And they even addressed some of that. And they've addressed the locker room and put in new air filters and done things to, to try to make that better. So they've been responsive. And I think that's probably what, any employer wants their employees to be their most productive. And if they're telling you what they need, you'd be wise to listen to them unless it's just something unreasonable. So very, very interesting. We've got some college football this weekend, and the Major League Baseball have their awards are out. Some familiar names winning MVPs in the American and I guess National League for that matter. But first, folks, get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. You know where that is, not far from the airport, kind of sandwiched between that and Raymond James Stadium. Now, to find it, you're going to go to the center of the mall where Santa is and go upstairs. That's where the Breitling Boutique has been. The Breitling Company has been in business for over 140 years. They've been International Plaza going on 6 now. And it's where you're going to find the best Swiss watch you've ever completely thought of owning. For the men, it's the Navitimers, the Chronomat watches, women's watches as well for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They're very durable, and she can choose from any number of wristbands that she would prefer. And while supplies last, you're a football fan, right? That's why you're listening to this podcast. Well, Breitling Boutique is celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches while supplies last. These are for men. The beautiful Chronomat watches with the team colors on the face of the watch, the logo, spectacular. A couple were in the window inside just last week when I walked by. It is Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Please let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Big college football weekend, especially for the USF Bulls, who, as we speak, are probably en route to Annapolis, Maryland. I actually looked up how far is, Annapolis from where I'm going to Buffalo. It's too far. It's
From
like
Buffalo, yes.
6.5 hours. Yeah. So I will not be going to that game. Game's at, I think, noon on Saturday.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is the one they need. I mean, it's a good team, good Navy team. I think they only have one loss. If the Bulls are able to get this and then beat UAB and beat Rice, they could be in the championship game.
Well, I was going to say, you say this is the one that they actually need all three. Like
they need all three. Yes,
that loss to Memphis means they pretty much need to win all three to if they win out,
they'll control their own destiny.
They'll be in the college football playoff.
That's correct. Yeah.
If they lose one and still make the AAC or the American Championship, if they make it. Well, they still could with the loss, but they'll need help. But if they were,
it'd be 3 losses at that point, though.
But one of them's Miami.
True.
And so you wouldn't be guaranteed. Right. Now James Madison's in the picture.
James Madison is a contender. Yeah.
Yeah. But if USF wins out, they're going to be in the college football playoff.
Spectacular. I mean, and financially, man, they need it. They need it for the athletic department. They're building a stadium.
So basically, their college football playoff starts now.
It does. You're right.
Like instead, you're gonna have to win 4 games in the playoff to go there. But you got these 4 you got to win. The 3 regular season and the American Championship. So
yeah,
your 8-game playoff starts now.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good way to look at it. Really good way to look at it. And it's right there for them. And you can't guarantee that they're going to be back here next year or that even Alex Golish will be back here or Bynum Brown. Like, who knows? Everything can change year to year. So here's your opportunity, South Florida. Go make a statement. Maybe, perhaps, depending on what Miami does, become the first Florida team in the college football playoffs. That would be unbelievable. They'd be going, most likely, Steve, they might go and play Georgia in the first round.
As it stands right now, that's what it would be.
Yeah. How dope is that?
Obviously, to go play at Sanford Stadium there?
Oh, my God. Between the hedges, man. Yep. Everybody's watching the number 1 team in the nation. I mean, look, we're not naive. We know that Georgia's a better football team, but just to be on the field and have a chance to compete and maybe shock the world, right?
Well, you might be the better football team, but it doesn't mean you're the better football team that day.
That day. That's right. And pressure does funny things, man. It'll burst a pipe, if you're not careful. So that would be I just like to see that. Like to see that
Yeah.
matchup, the Georgia Bulldogs against USF.
But even if it's not Georgia, whether you go to, who knows how the regular season plays out, but
Oh, Notre Dame,
is it
or
in
who knows?
Indiana, Notre Dame,
Indiana would be a
Alabama,
high
like,
rank one, yeah.
like
Alabama, sure,
Oregon, um,
sure.
who knows? Like, just to go in a playoff play there for USF would be phenomenal.
That atmosphere, college football playoffs, only game on at the time, right?
Yep.
The exposure for the university, the exposure probably would lose goalish, might even lose Byron, but who cares, man? He got you to the championship and won the championship and got you in the college football playoffs. Job well done, my
Yeah,
friend.
absolutely. Let's go
Job
find the
well
next
done.
Alex Golish. But
No kidding. And I think you wouldn't have, not that you'd had trouble in the first place, you'd have way less trouble if they were able to get in the college football play. How many different coaches would be attracted to this job after they make a college football playoffs? My
it's
goodness.
all gas, no brakes. So
All gas, no brakes. That's right, Rob Higgins. That's what we're doing. We're rolling downhill at this point. So they'll be headed up there today, and a noon kickoff on Saturday. Should be cool. Should be really cool. We're looking forward to watching that one. I'll be doing that on the plane. I think I'm connecting through Atlanta, so I think at that time, well, I might be landing actually at that time in Buffalo, chilly, rainy Buffalo, which I'm looking forward to. Major League Baseball had their awards handed out, and I didn't realize this. Shohei Ohtani is your National League MVP. This is his fourth MVP. Of course, he won a couple in the American League as well.
Yep. The only player with more is Barry Bonds with 7.
That's great. Barry Bonds won 7 MVPs.
Yep.
Think 7.
Yep.
Goodness gracious. But
I think he won 4 in a row, if I recall.
I think you might be right. But Ohtani, man, geez, what a player. And then Aaron Judge in the American League, which I think your boy, the catcher in Seattle, had a good claim to it, and they kind of split votes a little bit.
17 for Judge, 13 for Raleigh, and every ballot had them either first or second. So if you didn't have them first, you had the other one second. So,
man, can you imagine being Cal Raleigh and you're like, hey, I'm a switch hitting catcher that just hit 60 bombs and I didn't win the MVP. I mean, what do I got to do? What's the guy got to do around here, right?
Yep. I mean, Aaron Judge won his 3rd. Ohtani won his 4th.
Man, that's crazy.
Ohtani's won 3 in a row.
I was shocked that he'd won 4.
One in the American League, one in the American League, and then 2 in the National. So
I was shocked. I shouldn't have been, but I was. And he, by rights, with what he does on the mound now that the Tommy John surgery's over and throwing 100 miles an hour in the World Series and stuff like that, he could be on the top of the mountain for a while, for a good while. So that was cool. You said Junior Caminero got some votes.
at 9th place.
Got
a third place vote, and then handfuls of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Yandy Diaz got 1 10th place vote. Tied for 18th.
Yandy. Love Yandy. Batting 300 like it matters, and it does. That was awesome. Totally awesome. Yeah,
Barry Bonds did win 4 in a row.
He won 4 in a row?
2001 to 2004.
All with the Giants, right?
Yep.
Yep.
But he won in 90, 92, and 93 as well. The first 2 with the Pirates, the third one with the Giants. So
interesting.
It's 7 MVPs spaced out over basically 15 seasons.
Wow. Huh. Yep. And of course, like with baseball and performance-enhancing drugs and steroid accusations and things like that can always taint it, but no such accusations of that with Ohtani. Just a little gambling here and there, perhaps by his bookie. So I'm not sure where that.
By the way, Clase and Ortiz are arrested now.
Yeah, I saw that. They've been indicted, arrested, arraigned, and also the NFL, I think, announced that they are trying or plan to eliminate prop bets. Good idea, right?
Baseball is basically worked with the sports books, and there's a $200 limit on those prop bets, like for pitches and things like that. So,
yeah,
still can do it, but how are you going to make the big money?
Yeah, I just think there's too much, inducement to try to do something like that. Who knows what positions players will find themselves in? But
and look, if you're a player and someone pays you a lot of money, granted, I think these guys make $12,000 and they're making millions in their career, which seems like that's not worth it to do it. But it's who cares if I throw ball 1? Like I do that all the time, not on purpose.
And they're not thinking, these are. I mean, although one's a great reliever making millions, $1 million or more,
Yep.
but they're also not thinking that anybody's paying that much attention to them because they're
Yep.
not Shohei Ohtani, right? Like, who cares if I'm pitching
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the week and I throw ball one, right? Like, who's
Yep.
really? But it turns out there's a whole cottage industry of these firms that do nothing but
Yep.
that,
No, and
right?
I think one of them was, I think it got some of the attention because I think it was Clase threw a first pitch ball that kind of hit the plate, but the guy swung, so it's a strike. So that
Yikes!
upset some better. He did his job. I mean, the thing hit the plate or whatever, or maybe even before.
Oh, I
But
spiked it for God's sakes.
the hitter swung.
Maybe he had the other prop bet. Who knows? Yeah, that would suck. It's like, hey, man, I spiked that ball. I threw it 55 feet, and he still went after it. What do you want me to do? Some of these, as I read the indictments, like they're alleging that, and I don't know if it was Clase or somebody else, but they're alleging that the players themselves would have bets placed on their behalf. They would give money to other people to bet on
Yeah,
it
that's
as
a
well.
problem. That's a problem then.
Yeah, that they were kind of skimming from their own action.
Hey, I
bit.
know it's going to be a ball. Let me go ahead.
That's right. Here's $15,000. I want you to place, 12 of it and keep the 3 yourself. Do what you want. I'm going to say it's a ball because it's a ball. Drake May nearly got killed, by the way. He did a Tim Tebow jump pass, got planted while he did it. This game is kind of crazy, but Patriots are still up.
And how about Jameis Winston starting in the NFL again?
Yes, sir. And not just starting, but also
Singing.
starring. Absolutely. His press conference, must-see TV, as you would expect. And they asked him how he was feeling, what he was thinking, and he was talking about, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have surgical execution, surgical. And then he said, it was no greater feeling, than to be a quarterback in New York,
We did get a mailbag question about Jameis.
Did we? He started singing a tune from Hamilton about New York City.
Yep.
In the greatest city in the world, right?
Yep.
And if you've seen Hamilton, you know what he's talking about. But
so Steve tweeted us. He says, why do fans of teams that have Jameis as their backup get so excited when he is announced as the starter? He's going to win the first game in an exciting fashion, then lose the next 5 while throwing 6 picks.
Well, I don't know if he's going to win the first game because they're playing the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. I think it's at Lambeau. It might be the Giants Stadium. But because Jameis, first of all, he's always had some talent. He was the first overall pick. He won a national championship. I don't think he was quick twitch enough, has kind of elongated motion. But, he's branded himself a little bit as the greatest teammate you could ever have. And I think at this point, however, that it's time to make that move to TV. In other words, I think he comes across like I couldn't take him as a starter with some of the goofball stuff he says and does now. He's always been kind of goofy, but, eating W's and stuff like that. But now he's almost a caricature of himself. And, I want my quarterback to be serious at times. I don't care, necessarily what he said the other day, but, I just think he's a little too much clowning for a guy that you want to be the face of your franchise, if that makes sense. But, hey, he's managed to forge an 11, 12-year career, make $80 million. So who am I to tell him how to conduct himself? He is fun. He is going to be entertaining. He's going to throw some passes to the other team. There's no question about that. But I'll tell you where he's going to make his biggest pile is TV. When he decides to hang it up. Can you see Jameis on Thursday Night Football or Monday Night Countdown Crew? How much fun he's going to be?
Yep, no question about it. I mean, he was already doing stuff at the Super Bowl last year.
He was a big hit for Fox. Yep. Yeah, really big hit as a correspondent. That's going to be his lane, So you want to be a big TV star? Play 12 years in the NFL at quarterback, But he has, I think he's probably started around 10 games since he left Tampa Bay. And he's like 4-6 or something like that. Still more.
Which look, if you're New York and you get a win or two out of your third string quarterback,
oh, huge.
I mean, it's Russell Wilson, it's Jackson Dart. I mean, to start the season, and Jameis. I mean,
yep. And Mike Klafka, who's taking over he's our quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator, taking over as a head coach from Dable. He's the one that decided Jameis, not Russell Wilson, would be his starter. So I don't know if Dable makes that decision or not, but at least Jameis gets to play because it seemed like they were pretty heavy on quarterbacks when you got Jameis and Russell both as your backups, right? But Russ has just not gotten it done for a couple of years now with a couple different teams, and I think it's not going to be easy. That's one of the best defenses in football, but the Packers are struggling scoring points.
I was going to say, Jameis connects on a deep ball or two, and who knows what that game does. I mean,
oh yeah, no, he could definitely win it for him. There's no question. Don't know he's going to win you multiple games, but he can definitely win one, and it'll be fun to watch him play. And I know he's certainly excited about it, man. Hamilton tunes. He knows they've been their 10-year anniversary like he had it down. He had taken his son to go see him, so very aware. Jameis is very calculating, very aware, and loved by all. I just don't. I think he's just a little unserious for any team to say that's the guy that's going to be the face of my franchise. I think that's where he's at now, if that makes sense.
Yep. Although he's not expected to be the face of that franchise.
Not anymore.
That's Jackson Dart. I mean,
or any franchise is what I'm saying. Like he'll tell you, and he has said, I'm as good. I'm one of 32. Well, no, technically you're not. You're like maybe one of 64, and until recently, you're the third quarterback, so you weren't even the backup. But he will play, and he'll do everything he can to win that game, and who knows, he might actually pull it off. Meanwhile, big game, of course, in Buffalo on Sunday, 1:00. I'll be there, God willing, and Delta Airlines. We'll talk after the game, me and you will, to see if the Bucs can avoid a 2-game losing streak. They've lost 2 out of 3 so far.
Yeah, we'll talk late that night because the Lightning have back-to-back games this weekend. Saturday at Florida for the first time against the Panthers since that preseason game.
That's right.
And then Sunday's at home against Vancouver. Both those games, 5:00 starts, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm flying home Sunday night, so Monday morning before I get here, depending on the airlines. Might be doing it from the airport in Buffalo, the way things go. We'll see. Anyway, we appreciate you guys listening each and every week. You can always reach us if you have comments or anything like that. We've had some mailbag questions throughout the week. We'll have some more next week, too. Send those to us at SportsDayTB, at NFL Stroud, or my email address is rStroud@tampabay.com. Thanks for listening. As always, for Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great weekend, everybody.